Alexa, great to see you. Thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Pop Alternative.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It's interesting because, it's been out for a couple, like, has it been even 2 weeks since it's been out?
I think it's like about to be 2 weeks come Friday. Yeah.
And it's just been kind of nonstop, right? How's this been since Terrifier 3 has been out for you?
It's been crazy. It's honestly been a little bit overwhelming, of course, in the best of ways. But when I first joined the cast back in like rehearsals, everyone was like, congratulations, like your life is about to change. This is gonna be so awesome. And when I heard that, I was super excited, but I didn't really like understand until they started pre-screening it. I hadn't even seen the film yet, and I was getting the most amazing reaction on social media from diehard fans who were just like, I'm obsessed. This is so cool. Welcome. And I was like, wow, this is like a phenomenon. It's really cool.
Absolutely. It's interesting because, when you join the cast, you mentioned joining the cast. I mean, like some like audition opportunities or when they offer you a role or something like that, they tell you a lot about the project and sometimes they don't, right? Did you know that it was Terrifier 3 when you were kind of like, getting involved and maybe auditioning for it?
Initially, no. As I got further along in the process, they'd kind of be like, hi, are you okay with blood? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, are you okay with prosthetics, water, chainsaws, XYZ? And I was like, whoa, 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 what's happening? And then, of course, upon meeting Damien and doing my due diligence, I realized that I was in the presence of some horror legends. So it was pretty cool. And it kind of lit a fire under me and made me even more excited and wanting this opportunity even more?
It's pretty crazy that Art the Clown, I would say, because people are saying like, oh, he's becoming like a horror icon. Like, I think we're past
Totally.
that. I think he's a horror icon. I think you could put him in there with like
I
Jason
think
and Freddy.
But like I think he's his own thing because he's got this whole like comedic timing and theatrical bit down pat. And like David is in like an echelon of his own in that region. Like he doesn't want to be like anybody else. I think he would bring everything spectacular to any role he takes on, but he's kind of solidified himself as his this own separate entity. And it's so cool that he built that from the ground up. He and Damien, of
When
course.
you were reading the script for this, it's a horror film, it's chaotic, it's gory. Were you able to kind of separate those components when you were reading it? Like the gory component versus the fun component versus the just traditional horror component? Or did it all feel like one when you were reading it? Like, I'm curious about that.
So I think for my character specifically, I definitely had different roots for every scene that I was in. Like we have like a more emotionally charged one, a more comedy based one, and then of course a more horror based one. And that was really awesome for me as an artist to kind of be able to try on those different hats and kind of oscillate between the two. And that's what Terrifier does really well. They merge comedy and slasher like scariness, and that's a rare thing. And I think it was really cool to be able to try to meld and learn in those different situations.
Absolutely. So much happens before you go to camera on Terrifier 3, right? Alexa, you're figuring
Yeah.
out kind of everything. You're talking to Damien, figuring out the scenes and everything, talking to Mason and everything. So from an
Yeah.
acting storyteller perspective, you can see there's two journeys, right? Before filming something and after filming something, or does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps? I'm curious about that.
So I definitely would say this has just been a roller coaster of a ride. Definitely one full journey, but I feel like there was a more like humanistic perspective to
Yeah,
begin with of just like, okay, what am I okay with as a human being? Like
totally.
let's take my character out of this and like what am I cool with? Where are my boundaries? And that was kind of the preparation that Mason and I and also our intimacy coordinator Maria really had to work on. So
Yeah.
I would say that kind of felt like a separate, more personal journey. But then once I was on set, it was kind of Mia all the way. I let her take the wheel, and it was a really awesome ride, and I'm happy to be on it.
You'll never guess what scene I'm about to ask you about. Can you take a guess?
Let me think.
I mean, I mean, I just kind of want to know, like reading it, like reading the shower scene and actually going and like filming it.
Well,
Like, yeah,
great.
I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like, what's that like for you reading it before even going and filming it?
Well, I remember reading it for the first time, and literally my jaw just dropped because I was like, how will we ever make this come to life? Like, how is this physically possible? So then I feel like the kind of competitive, like inquisitive part of me came out, where I was like, oh, heck yeah, I'm in. I just want to see how we can possibly translate this. I just want to be a part of the magic. So it was really crazy reading it for the first time. I remember it was on like a little email chain, and I remember they only sent me and Mason that one scene, and they were kind of like, "Hey, are you still in for this?" Like just pulse check. How do you feel about this? So it was pretty awesome.
When you like wrapped it and they said cut and like you were done for that scene, like what was that like with everyone around? Like what was that like? Like just like being done with that? Because I heard
Oh
it took
my
like a
God.
week to film that scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like a 4 day stretch, and it was very physically intense. And for me, having never done any prosthetic work prior to this project, it was a lot of time in the chair. It was a lot of blood, a lot of really awesome challenges for me as an artist. But by the end of it, I felt fulfilled, but also exhausted. I felt like I gave it everything I had. And I'll have to find this photo. I have a photo that I took with Damien right after I wrapped. And I won't, no spoilers or anything, but let's just say it is the most insane photo you could even imagine. It doesn't even look like me.
I bet you in the comments, people are just going to be like, I need to see that photo of this interview.
Oh, oh my God. Everyone wants more BTS. And Damien's like, no, no, no. And I'm like, okay, I'll hold on to it until I get the go ahead.
So I'm wondering what your answer is from an acting storyteller perspective, because I feel like you can approach this different ways. But the film pushes the envelope. The film does things that
Definitely.
go there that you wouldn't think they would go there, but Damien goes there.
Goes one
And,
step further.
yes. And I'm just wondering, how do you process that as an actor? And I know that there's like certain things like the shower scene that have to do with your character, but there's a lot of other things that are like insane in this movie that like push the boundaries that aren't involved with your character. So like, I guess as a whole with Terrifier 3, like how do you like prepare like for that? Like being on a film that does like push the envelope and certain people like might not be okay with certain things. Like I'm wondering about that. You know what I mean?
Totally. So I think the number one thing that helped me was kind of interpersonal like conversations before the whole being on set thing even began,
Yeah.
and just kind of understanding and also making sure that I was fully on board with this. And when I walked to the set for the first day, I was like, no, I'm just gonna fully commit to this project. And I know that Damien outdoes himself every single time he takes something to the silver screen. So I was just excited to be a vessel in that process and to try and create something iconic, which I really feel like we have. And watching it, I just was overwhelmed with pride because it looked like every single person came into it with the same mindset. And when you are surrounded by a bunch of really passionate people who care about making something epic and historic in the way that Terrifier, this phenomenon, has become,
Oh.
it's just powerful. And I just really felt very supported. And I think that's another thing is I have to give everyone their flowers because I never for a moment felt like I was, in a vulnerable situation. They made it just a seamless process. And I was just really honored to be a part of it.
Oh, I'm a filmmaker as well. I had a horror film that I wrote and produced that was just at Screamfest at the Chinese Theater
Oh,
in LA.
really?
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, and like making a film is like a team sport. Like it's
Absolutely.
crazy. Like it's nuts.
It takes a village. And I think that's what the reason Terrifier has become what it has become is because the family that they've built on set has extended beyond the audience now. People have been supporting this since day one when it was just, a short film that wasn't in theaters at all. And now that it's
Yeah.
having successful,
It's a really you can
world.
make documentaries about it if you think about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I will be sat on my couch ready to watch the Terrifier series.
Well, no, you're gonna be interviewed for the Terrifier documentaries that come out too. That would be cool too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I will be sat both in an interview chair and on my couch. I am ready and I support it. And I think that Damien is a genius and we have not seen everything that he is capable of. So it'll be really cool to see what comes in the future.
Horror movies have always been around, but there is this just kind of special kind of time we're in right now where like they're the most popular films out there. They're the most watched, the most talked about.
Epic,
There's this surge in popularity. What's it like being in a horror movie at a time where there's such a big appetite for it? Like, what's that like for you specifically?
Oh my God, it's awesome. I mean, as someone who is also a horror fan, and like the second that I see something spooky or twisted on a commercial, I'm like, oh my God, we got to go see it. Like I'm calling up my friends. We have to go right now.
Yeah.
So to be kind of on the receiving end of that and to have so many people giving positive responses to something that is quite frankly pretty twisted,
Yeah.
it's just so cool. When you sign on to a project like this, you're just not sure how people will react. And obviously, you always want it to be positive, and you're always hoping that people love your performance. But the fact that I feel like I gave it my all and was in such a it was a raw version of myself on camera doing a super crazy scene.
Yeah.
And so just to get the response that we're getting, it makes it all worth it, and it makes me just so excited for the future, and it makes me want to do more. Like I want to do something even crazier now, you know?
Absolutely. And people can see Terrifier 3 now in theaters, which is amazing. Alexa, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, it was good to meet you too. So your Instagram account is just your name if people want to keep up to date with everything, right?
Yes. Underscore Alexa Blair on Instagram, and then Alexa Blair Rob on TikTok.
Awesome. Well, this has been Pop Turn at youtube.com/PopTurn for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Alexa. We can catch you Terrifier 3 and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.